welcome everyone to another exciting adventure of the energy that surrounds us. I'm your host, Michael, and today's guest on this special day and time is a guest that I am super excited for y'all to talk with and get to know. She has amazing stuff on her YouTube channels, and we are totally going to get into that and more. And so before I just start running on all about her accolades and everything, I'm going to turn it over to my amazing guest to introduce herself to you all. So, with that, I give you the one, the only Reiki extraordinaire and podcast host, Tracy Searight.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm Tracy Searight, and what a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. So I'm Tracy Searight. I'm here in El Paso, Texas. I am a yoga teacher, Reiki master of multiple different systems of Reiki. I am the owner of Feather Sister Yoga and Ready Set Reiki, a podcast about Reiki and all energy work. I'm also one half of the Laughing Lightworkers, which is on New Reality TV.
That's incredible. And I gotta ask, where does Laughing Lightworker come in? Because that title is, I feel like, so brilliant.
Beautiful. Well, light workers are individuals who are on this earth to do good and positive things. They find the lightness, the calm, the peace in the storm. And you don't have to have special abilities. It can be anyone from the person that does your taxes to the clerk at the store. Those people that have that heart of service and love that want to make the world a better place. And surprisingly, there are 11 that I talk about in the show of different types of light workers, but I'm sure there are many more. One of the types of light workers that I am is a manifester and also a dreamer, where I see things in dreams. So you may be surprised when you read some of these descriptions that you may have a little bit of light worker in you as well.
Yes, and so we actually have a guest on from one of your channels tuning in, and he's asking, what is the agenda? The agenda is just to promote Tracy and to share what she does with everyone. That's our agenda for today. So, one thing that we were talking about before, and I understand what it is now, but if you're not into yoga, you may not understand. And so I want to give a quick moment to the E500 RYT teacher, because that confused me, I will admit, at first, but now that I know what it means, I understand it. And so can we talk a little bit about that and help everyone understand what we're referring to?
Of course. So if you ever are interested in yoga or yoga training, there's different trainings that you can do. And one of them is a 200-hour training course. And exactly what it is, 200 hours of study. When you get your certification, you are that 200-hour teacher. As you are out teaching classes, there's an organization called Yoga Alliance, and through them, as you accumulate hours, you can get that E in front of that number there. So that's E, meaning experience over 1,000 hours. So an E 200 hour. Then if you want to further your education, you can go on to take a 300-hour class. When you finish that training, that merges together with your 200-hour, thus the 500-hour. So the E in front of the 500-hour is meaning that I have taken an additional 1,000 hours of teaching out in the world of yoga. So the RYT is a registered yoga teacher through Yoga Alliance. So if anyone was interested and wanted to know my background, they can go and see my credentials and the education that I had put into my modality that I offer.
No, thank you for sharing that. And that, that's amazing that, you put in all that time and getting certified, because we live in a world now where it seems like yoga studios and other studio like Reiki and all these others are popping up all over the place, but we really don't know their background, what they're doing. And so it's kind of nice to know that there is an organization out there that is kind of monitoring to make sure, okay, Tracy says she's done this. She has. Here's her certificate. And so you can go, oh, she knows. Okay, that we can trust this person, that she's, if something happened, like we get stuck in a pose, she's gonna know how to get us out and
Absolutely.
not be sitting there going, well, how did that happen?
Yeah, it's really important to ask questions. Most people don't. You go to a fitness class and you just are under the assumption that the educator there or the teacher knows exactly, what they're doing. And sometimes, there are people every now and then, like any other profession, that maybe kind of skirt around things, or, oh, I took a YouTube video and I watched it. And so, yep, I'm trained for this. So having that standard, that bar, and for me, it was just about integrity and ethics to make sure that I really knew what I was doing so I could be the best possible teacher for students that came in. And so through all of my education, it really has helped me as students walk through the door, because I'm meeting them, some of them for the very first time, and they've been living in their bodies, right? So they know what's going on. And I'll tell people, listen, I can study this, I can study these sequences and these asanas, but I don't have x-ray eyes. So I need you to tell me what's going on in your body so that I can help you in a safe way. In yoga, the injury tends to happen when you come into the pose and then when you come out of the pose. So you want to be very careful and offer variations so everyone's feeling safe. When you're safe, then your nervous system's able to regulate and you'll be able to have a very enjoyable class.
So for those that are looking at like different variations of yoga, actually, before we get into that, I want to back up for a second and go, what was the aha moment for you that you said, yoga is my path, this is what I'm being called to do? And what impact did that moment in your life have on you?
Well, I have had a beautiful love affair with yoga for 20 years now. So back in 2006, uh, I was a young mom, and I just really felt lost at the time. And yoga was a way for me to go within in a very chaotic world around me that gave me a sense of calm and peace on the mat, that I can kind of put all of those things aside just for 60 minutes. And through that, it almost became like this obsession. I would go several times a week, maybe even twice a day. And it really helped me through life's challenges. And it helped me be a better human being. It allowed me that when I was somewhere, I could focus on my breath, I could calm my mind, and things began to start shifting and changing in my life as well. Now, there was a time where I was doing yoga a lot, and then life got busy and it got put on the back burner. And I revisited again later in life when things got a little bit crazy again. And that came right before COVID in January of 2020, the death of my sister Angel. It really was that anchor for me through grief. And when you're in an asana, when you're in something that's a heart opener, say like a fish pose where you're opening up your chest, grief would come up and I found myself just crying. So it was getting things out of my body that I just wasn't or wanting to deal with. And so that was an anchor for me. So the day she died, that very next day, all I knew to do was to go to my yoga class and just be there and just let all of this come out of me. So for me, it has been an amazing grounding tool in my life.
Thank you. And our condolences on the loss of your sister.
Thank you.
So I've often wondered, because people have suggested to me doing yoga, and I'm always like, those poses, yeah, I don't think I'm flexible enough, and yeah, I'm not gonna be the guy that's gonna be falling all the time because I don't have the balance. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna save what dignity I've left and not go to yoga class. Thank you. So, what would you say to people like that feel like they're too out of shape or they're too like unbalanced to do yoga?
Well, that is like saying that I don't, I shouldn't take a bath because I'm not dirty. So you can take a bath for relaxing reasons. So going to yoga, you can get flexible going to yoga, but yoga is for everyone, and there is a yoga just for you. It's just a matter of finding your just right. People just think yoga is one thing, but there's yin, there's hatha, there's ashtanga, there's puppy yoga, there's goat yoga, there's yoga in a chair. So there's so many different varieties out there that you may have the one for you. Yin is all floor based, so you wouldn't have to worry about losing your balance, and it helps you become flexible. There's restorative, where you're relaxing your nervous system. So a lot of the things that you'll see online show these kind of acrobatic circus kind of maneuvers, but that's not the true heart of yoga. Yoga is calming the fluctuations of the mind. It is yoking, union, wholeness, oneness, and it's kind of more of a work in than a work out.
That actually sounds inviting. So thank you for that. 'Cause, yeah, it's like in all fairness, you see it on like TV and like you're saying in movies and on YouTube, and you always see these like super fit people doing all the poses and all the work, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the reason why I'm not going in that class. Is because I would totally stand out and be like, what are you doing here?
Right, right. But you would absolutely fit in. The kind of students that come through my door, they're very nervous because they're expecting those same misconceptions that you just mentioned. And it's usually because their doctor tells them you need to keep moving because movement is medicine. So they'll show up very nervous. And I'm what's called a green flag teacher. So I want you to listen to the inner teacher within you, and you feel comfortable, you feel safe. And I don't want you to follow me and to the point of where you're uncomfortable or you're in pain. And I'll have students come and say, well, I can't do this headstand. And I'm like, well, guess what? Neither can I. And I'm the teacher. So how does that look? So it's okay. Most teachers probably can't do most of those asanas, but the original yoga was just sitting there cross-legged, just relaxing and calming the mind.
Yeah, that's the trick, calming the mind.
Calming the mind, calming the mind. And in yoga, there's 8 limbs. And when you look at the limbs, you have yamas, niyamas, and then the third limb is actually the asana. So as we go all the way down to the 8 limbs. So this is an opportunity for you to kind of try different styles of yoga. Maybe try a yin class, try a beginner's class, try a chair class, and see what works for you and find that just right.
No, I'll definitely start looking into that because I just started working at a gym, and it's interesting how you mentioned like doctors will say you need to keep moving, but then they never say like, you could go to yoga and this will totally count and benefit, probably more so than going and walking around a track for like 2 or 3 times or an hour, depending on your speed of walking and going. Yeah, you're actually getting more benefit from the yoga
Yeah.
than the
And there's
walk.
a particular style of yoga called laughter yoga, where you laugh. You're not doing a downward dog. You're not doing a handstand. You're doing clapping. You're doing chanting. You're doing these foundation exercises where you're pouring like a milkshake and laughing, ha 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 ha, and it gets you just energized, and it helps you kind of be happy. And you look at things as a child, you're laughing 200 to 300 times a day, but as adults, we barely laugh 15 minutes. So it doesn't leave it to chance. And it's just a very playful, active way to fake it till you kind of make it. You start out with fake laughter, and then it becomes real, genuine laughter. So that's a different style of yoga as well.
So is that on your YouTube channel, the laughter one, or is
Well,
that?
laughter yoga was created in 1993 by Dr. Kataria. He is a medical doctor in India, and it started with 5 people, a laughter yoga club. And now it's all over the world, all different countries, and people go to parks to do this. And you can have someone who is trained as myself, and we have a little laughter yoga club. And again, it's like clapping, chanting, breathing, and laughing. So, and he also has it online as well.
Yeah. The only reason I mentioned that one is in talking with some other beings around the world and off world, if you're into that, they say we need to raise our vibration, and one of the ways to do that is through laughter or dance. And so I was like, man, if you could do laughter yoga, that's like a double whammy, and you're getting 2 benefits for the price of one.
Absolutely. Just wonderful health benefits for it, because the body can't distinguish between fake and real laughter.
That's true. There have been times where I'm like really sad, but I'll make myself start laughing, and before I know it, I can't stop laughing, and I don't even know why I'm laughing.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of the exercises, one is called argumentative, and you're just like, ha, 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 ha. Now, if I came up to you and went, ha, 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 you'd be like, whoa, at first, but then it becomes really infectious laughter on it. And it also helps that I was a school teacher, I was a kindergarten, preschool teacher. So I tell them right up front. So listen, pretend I'm your kindergarten teacher. We're going to have a great time. We're going to laugh. It's going to be playful. And we're going to do these laughter exercises. And if you are not laughing at each other, you're definitely going to laugh at me.
And I was just thinking, like, when you were saying, like, school, how many times, have kids gone to the counselor because they're not getting along and emotions are high, and the counselor just said, hey, we're going to do laughter, how quickly that would dissolve, and they might actually even become friends. I don't know.
Sure.
But it's like, how easier is it to laugh than to go, oh, well, you need to go see a counselor to see why you're doing this or that. And by no means am I saying, don't seek professional help if you need to. I'm just saying maybe this is an option that could be tried before going to those extremes.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I feel we need some of these modalities in the school, whether it's yoga, Reiki, meditation, all those wonderful things to help give kids a resource, a tool that they can use to help them navigate through the challenges of life, because they don't get a break. When I was in school, things stayed at school, and you had a break when you came home, and you had a break for the weekend, and you had a break for the summer. And kids now do not get those breaks on social media. It's just constant.
No, that's very true. And so can you do yoga with, you mentioned puppy and goat yoga, so I'm imagining it's like them walking on you, or you're not doing poses like a puppy with the puppy.
There are some poses. I mean, there's some things. There's emo yoga. There's heavy metal yoga. I heard in California there's serial killer yoga, where you get a little chainsaw to use and you hold with that. So, But with puppy yoga, it's that you're doing the poses, you're doing the asanas, and there's a pose called puppy pose. There's downward dog, there's upward dog, and of course the puppy is boss. I just did a class about a week and a half ago, and they were underneath, they were on them. I handed them a puppy, they held it up in warrior pose. So you can get very creative when you have that. Now, goat pose, as you're down on your mat, the goat can come underneath you. They can try to grab your shoe. They can jump on your back. So it gets very playful.
Yeah, and I'm imagining these are not the heavy goats. So it's not like someone's gonna jump on your back. You're like, can someone get him off of me so I can get up and breathe, please?
Right.
No, but is there a benefit actually to, like, take puppy yoga, for example? Because I know yoga has its own benefits, and, we've been highlighting those. But adding the element of the puppy, does that, like, elevate the yoga and all the energy with it? Or is the puppy just like a happy distraction that you're like, don't realize you're doing the yoga and it's actually the same?
Well, it can be all of it, quite honestly. I mean, it just depends on the cause. Say the one I was working with was a rescue shelter, and it helps, number one, raise money. It brings awareness to it. So it gets people in, potential people that may adopt the puppy and kind of get to know that animal. It gives the animal that kind of enrichment time out of the kennel and playing around. And I let people know, okay, this is not going to be your typical yoga class. Remember, the puppy is boss. So you're going to engage and you're going to get those little licks, right? And you're going to get chewed on with your fingers and so forth. And we're just going to add all this in. And it really kind of lightens the mood, because sometimes people think yoga is so serious at times, but coming in here and having that playful environment and the giggles and the laughs and just like, oh my goodness, and just cuddling. One of the people in the class, they were laying there and the puppy was right under them. And what a beautiful way to be in rest. That puppy was in rest, that person was in rest and just enjoying their time. And the class was continuing on to different asanas, but that person right there, how beautiful that they were resting, and what a break that little puppy to feel safe and loved in that moment. So there's lots of different positive things to it. The puppies were in an area that was very well air conditioned, access to water, they got breaks. So we have to look out for what's best for the animal, not to exhaust them in ways, but it was a good cause, and it was an opportunity for people to come out and to support that and bring awareness to the rescue.
No, that is a great thing. And I often wonder too, though, is there ever times where in the yoga class where somebody may be going through something and trying to hide it, and then this puppy arrives and they start doing poses, and then they just hold the puppy, go to a corner, and just let all the emotion out, so to speak. And as the teacher, you're like, okay, you go do that, and the rest of us will continue on? Or do you go and say, hey, are you okay? Do you need anything?
Well, I mean, it's the matter of just learning how to read the room. When I teach class, I let people know there's a pose called child's pose. If you need a moment of a break, you need a little time out. If child's pose feels comfortable for you, by all means. If you need to go into a shavasana, which is corpse pose, which is lying there on your mat, please go there. And keeping an eye on them, not to make it obvious, but as the class moves, and if I feel they need checked in, I'll ask, are you okay? Do you need a water? Do you need to do you? But that's highly encouraged. That's a true yogi, that you listen to yourself, because the hardest thing about yoga is showing up. The second thing is consistency. It takes a lot for people to come to class because the excuses come in. But you feel like, oh, I don't feel like it today. But your body really does need that movement. So if you got to class, you're on your mat, you maybe only did 1 or 2 of the poses and that's it, and you just need to lie there, then please listen to your body. There were times in my 20 years of being in yoga as a student where it was everything for me to get to the mat, and I just was there listening to the sound of my teacher's voice because it brought me comfort. So it can happen, but again, I hold space for people and I encourage them to listen to their own body.
And not to sound funny, but again, as we're talking about breaking down the stereotypes and the misconceptions of yoga, I always will see everyone's in like the tight yoga pants in these specific outfits, and I'm like, I don't think as a guy I would feel comfortable enough to walk in with yoga pants. And so it's like, do the guys just wear shorts and that's it, or do the guys actually eventually go into the yoga pants?
Most guys that I've had in class, they do wear shorts, like gym shorts and a t-shirt. Yeah.
Because I feel like that's a misconception too, is everyone thinks the yoga outfits that everyone's wearing are the uniform for the class, and they're like, oh no, I ain't gonna be caught dead wearing that. So not gonna happen.
Well, social media has a way of looking things. I mean, it's a billion-dollar industry out there with it. So you have a lot of kind of aesthetics for it. But, come as you are with it. And it just depends on, again, what style. If you're going to go to hot yoga, obviously you're not going to wear layers, right? But a class like a yin, where you're not building heat, that's where you're doing the floor-based asanas and you're holding them for 3 to 5 minutes. You can wear layers with that as well. Same thing as restorative. But if it's a vinyasa or a flow, you will probably wear something a little bit lighter because you're moving a little bit faster. So it just depends on what particular style you're doing. For the puppy yoga, I would tell people, listen, bring an older mat. I have mats. They may get scratched up. Wear older clothes in case the puppy scratches or something happens. So it really just depends on what kind of style you're doing and location. So if like you're out in the park, we did yoga outside last Friday, and it was like 98 degrees. It felt so hot. And some of the students did come in layers. And it's like, wow, it's really hot. And they were wearing black. And it's like, oh, my goodness. So that would have been beneficial. But again, people may not feel comfortable in, having a lot of skin showing. But that really is up to that person as well, the comfort level.
How are you in Texas and getting 98 degrees? I'm in Texas and we're at 110 plus.
Well, that was at 9 a.m. on a Friday. I am in El Paso. So, and by the end of that day, it was 100. So I'm in El Paso. But yeah, this was like at 9 a.m.
Yeah, and that's the craziness of Texas. It's like 11 a.m. It could be like already 99 degrees, and you're like, God, we got so many hours to go.
Right. You're melting.
But another thing that I'm curious about with the yoga that we've been talking around, but you kind of hit on a few times, is like the mat. So is there you go to the store and there's like all these different, like super thin or thicker, or you can roll or don't roll. And it's like, so how does one determine which mat to use for yoga? Like, what's the guidelines do you suggest to people when picking a mat?
Well, what I suggest to people is just think of how your body is. How are your knees on the floor? Do you need a little bit of extra padding? Do you have anything going on in your wrist? And how committed do you think that you're going to be? Well, since I have a 20-year relationship with yoga, my mats are a little bit on the pricier end because I look at that as an investment because I was teaching and out there doing this. So I usually get the higher end. But when I tell people in the beginning, if this is a class that you know that you're going to go only a few times, don't put a big investment in the yoga mat because you can add different things to it. For instance, if you came through my class, I already provide a yoga mat. So look to see if the studio, most studios do provide a yoga mat. So that's key right there. So, okay, there's a yoga mat there. When you get there, if you have those sensitive knees, does the yoga mat more than likely have a blanket? Yes. So then you can fold that blanket up, use that for your knees. Now, if you're someone who I don't like using a communal kind of yoga mat, where do I go? I would start on Amazon. Look there. There's different varieties. The ones that fold up are travel mats, and they're very, very thin. So I would not recommend that because it just depends on the type of flooring that you're going to be on. So definitely you want a little bit more padding, maybe about this much with it. But again, I would not invest a whole lot of money unless you're like, yeah, I'm going to really be into this and I'm going to do this for the long haul. But you can get $10, $25, maybe find one at Target and see how it goes. And that way, if you kind of like, this isn't for me, it's not going to be earth shattering versus like, oh my goodness, I just spent 150 on this mat. But there's some people that go gung-ho. They go out, they buy the whole outfit, they buy all the props, they buy all the things because they get so excited. And it's definitely an investment if you make it. But yeah, just be very mindful. There's some that are pretty bad out there. If it's $5 or $7, I would say no. But you can add different things to it. You can double up on mats. I saw something earlier today that somebody was using a beach tile. That's not ideal, but if that's all you have, kid yoga, we don't even really need a mat. You just need the floor with that. So.
And so, what you keep, you mentioned like you can add to the mat, and so you mentioned like some come with blankets.
Mm-hmm.
What material mat is better? Because like I've seen some that kind of like are like they almost feel plasticky, and I'm sitting there thinking sweat and plastic don't mix, and I don't want to be like getting like my skin stuck to the mat, or
Yeah.
you're like, now slide into this position. You're like, no, the mat is not allowing me to slide because the sweat and the material's not mixing. So
Yeah.
what material really should, and I don't like using the word should, but it's the only word I can think of in this moment, should people use for everyday like use in yoga?
So if you're somebody that has like really sweaty hands, they do have a sweat mat for yoga. When I used to do hot yoga, there was this yoga fabric that I would put over my mat that I would kind of sweat on, and that would help my hands from not moving on the mat or get too sweaty with that. So those are things that you can bring in if it's something where it's getting too sweaty. They have yoga socks as well that you can buy if it gets that bad with your feet that you can use for your practice with that. And they also have like different cleaners and things that you can use as well. But that's the most ideal for like a standard yoga mat, to help with the mixture for the balances, floor control, keeping it stable for different styles. And it goes really back to what style of yoga that you're doing. If it's something you're going to do for a travel mat, that's the one I talked about where you can fold it up into like a square. It's light. It can be rolled up, put in a suitcase, or versus, if you're needing a thicker, more cushioned mat, to help with maybe restorative, or you have more sensitive parts of the body.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting, and I mean, I don't necessarily, I'm not looking for a critique or anything, but the pose that I always found easiest, that I don't even know where I got it from, but I was doing it and someone told me it was a yoga pose, was where you're on one leg, you bend your other leg to like where it looks like a triangle sticking out like a leaf,
Mhm.
and then you have your arms out like to your side, palms up, and they go, "That's a tree." And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
But it's like, and you know, it's kind of it's weird to me that it's like, how and why would I know the tree pose? And and because I've never really done a yoga class, so how, and like, what's the significance to the tree pose?
Well, maybe you were an ancient yogi in another life, but that's kind of a really classic balancing posture where you're standing on one leg and you're reaching out and you're being a tree. So standing tall and working on your balance. So maybe kind of you saw it somewhere along the journey and just felt it was appropriate to go into tree pose. And that's another pose you can do in puppy yoga. Let's be a tree for the dogs.
And so, like, what benefit though? Is it just for balance, or are there other benefits to the tree pose?
Well, I mean, it helps balancing your ego, first of all, because balance is fickle, right? And so and when you're dealing with these asymmetrical shapes, one side is probably going to be more accessible than the other. But it helps build strength, it helps tone your ankles, your calves, your thighs, helps improve your balance. It helps open up your hips too, right? Stretches the inner groin and outer thigh. So there's lots of great benefits to it. And if you really want to work on your balance, closing your eyes and bringing those hands right to heart center with that. But if you're keeping those eyes open, you focus on what's called a drishti, and that's a focal point. And so that you're so laser focused on that drishti that you're not watching anything else. So when I'm in the front of the room and there's a group of students, I'll tell them, do not watch the person in front of you because you will certainly be a tree swaying in the wind.
Very true. And so, talking about puppy yoga, how did you branch into animal Reiki?
Well, animal Reiki is what is called like a complementary or specialty Reiki. Typically, you would study human Reiki, and human Reiki. So, anybody who doesn't know what Reiki is, it comes in like two parts. The word Reiki is a Japanese kanji, means universal energy, but Reiki is actually a system of energy healing. Many people believe that it goes back to 1922 with Mikio Uzui. But however, information is out there that there were many different Reiki systems prior to him kind of connecting with the energy. And so you study human Reiki. Typically, there's 3 different levels to it. A level 1 where you're working self Reiki and placing hands. Level 2, you're a practitioner, so you can have a Reiki business, you're given symbols. And then the 3rd level is a master, whether you get the master symbol just for yourself or you teach. Now, there's lots of different systems of Reiki. When I originally studied Zui Rahiho, there were actually 4 systems, and I've interviewed someone on Ready Set Reiki that had 98 different levels. So lots of different systems out there, and respecting all systems, all lineages, all levels. So when I did the people Reiki, I wanted to go a little bit deeper. One of the things I own is I have 6 different Cavalier King Charles Spaniels. I guess they own me. I am the caretaker of them, so they're the bosses. I call them my furry assistants. And when I came to El Paso, Texas, something that I noticed here was a lot of lost animals, a lot of lost dogs. I was getting dogs out of the highways and off roads and things. And I thought there has to be a better way for this here. What can I do to help? Because I already had 6 dogs and we are about 20 minutes from the border. So when people come over to try to get into El Paso, the dogs can't come through the border. So oftentimes they have to abandon their pets. And so I wanted to do something for the animals here. And so I learned animal Reiki. And animal Reiki, about level 1, level 2, and level 3, it teaches you to go a little bit in depth of what the animals need and what techniques you can give for them. For instance, I would not give Reiki to entire fish tank because that doesn't give the fish a choice. I would just put a little Reiki bubble in the fish tank so that the fish could swim around it or go through it. And the understanding that we listen to the animals, we ask the animals for permission to give them Reiki and to allow them that freedom to come and go as they please with that it's not forced, demanded, or commanded to them. So it is a great and wonderful modality, a specialty complementary Reiki. You may see many people online that do Reiki and they close their eyes like this with their hands. Well, when you're doing pet Reiki or animal Reiki, you're watching the pet. The eyes stay open because even your fur baby can react in a certain way. So watching different cues from the animal, whether they are tired or they've had enough and they don't want it, we always keep our eyes open.
No, thank you for that. And that's an amazing gift to be able to communicate and understand and be open to what the animals are saying and wanting, because I feel like so many times we say, "Oh, I'm listening and I'm really in tune with my pet," but then everything you're doing is what you think the pet wants, and the pet is looking at you like, you are not seriously putting that on me. And then they're like, why am I stuck in this?
Yeah.
And they have this weird look, and it's like the mom's like, oh, isn't he just so cute and everything? I'm like, I don't think he's feeling cute right now.
Well, animal Reiki is different from an animal communicator. You can be a animal Reiki practitioner or master and not have that ability to be an animal communicator. You can be an animal communicator or animal or pet psychic and not do Reiki. But usually you'll find some people that do both, but they're both very unique skill sets to do with animals. But yes, I can do both. And especially with my own animals, I can sense when they're going to get sick or something's going on. I had a fur baby that passed in February. And last year, I knew he was going to die in February. I told my husband, I said, I think Bentley's going to go in February. And he's like, how do you know? I said, I just know. And sure enough, he passed that first weekend in February.
That is hard. I lost mine 3 years ago, and it's like, I find myself when dealing with the 2 that I inherited from my mom, that it's like I'll call their names, and then it's like I want to throw out the 3rd name, and I'm like, no, that one is not with us anymore, but
yeah,
it's like it still hits, and
yeah. And the animal Reiki helps with grief as well. We had to make a decision to put Bentley down like compassionate euthanasia. And the Reiki, I use that throughout the whole process, through deciding and leading up to it and during that experience with him. So it's a great kind of tool to use as you're going through these challenges of life.
Yeah, because I mean, and people don't realize, like, I've had two dogs that I held their head when they got the injection because their quality of life was so diminished. We're like, it's more humane to help them go than keep them here. And then one was blind and deaf. And like I was the only one that could pick him up because I would get on the floor and I would be on his level. So I think we kind of bonded over that. And when we went to the city, because we thought, oh well, maybe the city shelter would be better condition. They were like, nope, you can't come in the back. So I had to say goodbye in the lobby, and I was like, man, I don't get to be there to hold the head. And I was like, I felt like a little torn on that, and I felt like I wronged him for a while over that.
Yeah.
And then when it came to mine, when it was time for him to go, he knew because I could do energy work that I would like sit there and infuse energy at no length to help him feel better. That I was on a road trip coming back from a conference when he passed, and I was like, yeah, I knew he had to do it while I wasn't there because
Yeah.
otherwise it'd be too hard, because it was like we were like two souls, two halves of the same soul.
Mhm. Yeah.
He was like my little mini me, energy wise.
Oh, yeah. And that animal Reiki can help with all of that guilt, shame, loss, all of that, and caretaker fatigue as well.
No, that's great to know. And I went through and done shadow work around it and everything, and I feel like, though, it's interesting when you see people's dynamics of, oh, it's just the dog, and go through life, and when it comes time to let them go because of health, it's like they're like, you know it wasn't just a dog all these years or
Right.
just a cat. And yeah, it's interesting how it hits them then.
Yeah.
But moving on to a more livelier, upbeat topic. um you do something that I get asked a lot about, because doing astral traveling, and people talk about lucid dreaming, like, what's the difference? Are they the same? How are they different? And it's really hard to explain
Right.
to me, really. So, with you being a lucid dreamer, how do you explain what a lucid dream is versus the other things you can do in your sleep?
So, a lucid dreamer, I'm someone who is aware that I'm dreaming while I'm still asleep. So, when I'm in this state, I gain that ability to really kind of take control of the events. So, one of the things in the dream that I have, I often get visited by my sister who passed in 2020. Her name was Angel. And she'll show up in dreams. And one of the ones that she came into, I showed up and she looked very different than what she did in life. She was very, very tall and very, very skinny. And when she was alive, her hair was all the way down the middle part of her back, and she was very, very short. And just in the different places that I kept jumping to, like at one point I was pushing someone in a wheelchair and the door would open. Then I found myself in a mall, and then she was there. And then the next thing I know, I see her jumping up into the sky. And so it takes me to different places, but I know I'm dreaming, but I'll see also different scenes. And as these scenes are unfolding, it's almost like a movie. And then when I wake up, I'll just be living life, and all of a sudden I'll get something that's like a deja vu feeling. And I'm like, wait a minute, I know what's going to happen next. And sure enough, it starts coming together. And so this is what's so fascinated with this lucid dreaming, just having this ability to just see these things as they're unfolding. But, you know, it's just really amazing seeing some of these things unfold, but it also gets really scary as well. And as I'm there, I'm like, remember you're dreaming, right? And to wake up. But I see like the strangest things and things like on the other side. If I know someone's going to die, I'll see that in the dream as well. Things that like, how can this be? Like, I don't know this person. This place is so different. But then I'll live life, and again, it'll show up, and it's like, my goodness, where is this coming from? So that's a lucid dreamer. The astral one is going into different timelines as well. So that's kind of more of a spiritual one that beyond the physical world. And I've done a couple of those where like on a different planet or in a different galaxy, or I'm just streaming through this tunnel of light. I don't usually have that as much as the lucid dreaming experience, and I get a lot more of the deja vu from the dreams.
So, what was your aha moment like? And again, you know, like, how did it impact your life when you first did a lucid dream and realizing this is something you can do? And how do you, and again too, is there something you can do to instigate a lucid dream over a different type of dream?
I really kind of never have control as I'm going into the dream, but I have control when I'm in the dream, if that makes sense. I've been dreaming, and my grandmother had the ability. My mom has the ability, but my mom doesn't really encourage it. She comes from a very religious background, very Bible based, so she really shuts that down. And when I was younger, she would shut it down as well with me. And then as I got older and I started working on like my culturally created self through society putting things on me, and I began healing and doing my inner work, I started again with these dreams. And one of the most profound one was, I knew my sister had died before our father had called me. She had come in a dream, and in the dream she comes towards me huffing and puffing and extends her arm out, hands me this piece of paper. In the dream, I look at the piece of paper. I said, "What is this?" And she answered, "This is for the kids, my children." And I laughed and said, "Yeah, right. You have to be dead." And then I hear my dog barking. I wake up from the dream and I'm like, oh my goodness, where is she? And I'm messaging her. I'm trying to find her on social media. I can't get in touch with her. I try to talk myself, okay, well, wait a minute. She wasn't feeling well. She did go to the hospital. She's okay. You know, she's younger than me. This will be all right. And then about an hour and a half later, the phone rings. I look down. I see it's my dad's cell number. I could not even pick it up because I'm like, oh no. And then when I listened to the message, he had shared that she had passed. So that was a big aha moment for me as life-changing. And I never figured out what was on that piece of paper that my kids were supposed to get. So oftentimes I would set an intention as I sleep, like, Angel, can you come to me? Or Dad, my dad eventually passed. Can you come to me? I'll usually ask for that. I have a good friend here in El Paso. Her mother comes in dreams to tell me things to try to help her. And it was so interesting with that because things were happening and I said, hey, like, I had this dream, and I would tell her this and she would validate things. And it just blows me away when I get this validation from people, because I'm like, how can this be just a dream? And then you're telling me all these different things that are happening. So it's just so wild that these things happen through these dreams, and things that like I never even knew. Like I said, your mother's telling me about her appendicitis or something, or appendix. She's like, oh my God, my mom had that out. And certain flowers, like your mother is telling me about an area in your home that she was upset about, and she feels you need to change it. She says, oh my goodness, I just changed this the other day. How did you know? And it was through the dream. And so that ability keeps improving and growing the more I kind of continue to heal myself, the more I use the Reiki, the more I practice just self-care with myself.
And talking about Reiki, my dyslexia kicks in every once in a while, and I can't, and I feel like I know, but I question it to the point that I don't believe I know anymore.
Okay.
And when I was doing Reiki, I was taught, if I'm remembering it right, the left side is the masculine side, and the right side is the feminine side, which means that there's a blockage there. It could be coming from a female family member if it's on the right side. Or do I have that backwards and it's the females are on the left side and masculines on the right side?
With studying yin, the understanding is the female is on the left side, that's the yin side, and then the masculine on the right side, the yang, or some pronounce it yang side. But in Reiki, it's not I've not heard too many things about that with the masculine or feminine side. With are you talking about with communication, hearing from a spirit?
So what my teacher taught us, like if say someone was working on me in my right shoulder, well, they would say, well, you have a blockage here. And they would go, well, the message that the blockage is giving me is this. And the energy, they would be like, oh, so because it's on this side, it comes from this energy. So is there someone in your family or a friend that matches what's going on? And we would tie, and like, it's almost like we were doing mediumship with the Reiki.
Okay, so it sounds like what your teacher was teaching you is something that's called intuitive approach to it. So an intuitive healer is someone like Mikio Azui. He was a very intuitive Reiki healer, where each session would be different. He would be guided. And then you have someone who is a systematic, where they're doing a session and they're placing their hands and they're not getting spiritual impressions on it. Anyone can do Reiki. You don't have to have any special kind of abilities. You don't have, actually, the simplicity of Reiki is just letting the Reiki be. But as time has gone and Reiki has evolved, people will bring the intuitive in. People will bring in tuning forks and sound bowls and drums and all those things and the crystals with it. So it sounds like your teacher was more gearing towards that intuitive, like, what am I picking up on this side of the body here? And this potentially could be a blockage of energy. And if she's bringing in, or he's bringing in, that blockage could be from that male or female with that. So when you're looking back at the lineage of Reiki, back from, say, the start of 1922, again, there's different ways. Azui being intuitive, following along the energy. Hayashi was more diagnostic and having a healing guide that he placed. So if someone came in, say if you came in from bronchitis, after what's called a biosyn scanning, which is the disease line of using your non-dominated hand to feel a sense of where the blockage and energy is. If you couldn't pick up on that, you would use his healing guide and you would use those same hand placement treatments. Then you have Madame Takata, who has the hand placement treatment, and that would be every time. She did not bring in any kind of extra things or kind of the psychic ability in it. It was just, and some of the sessions could be hours long. over periods of days and things like that. So that's what it kind of sounds like. It was more intuitive to feel those blockages with that. And again, it goes back to what system of Reiki you studied, how was your lineage, and when we learn that, then we can kind of unravel like, oh, this makes sense as the pieces together. But by all means, if that's what your teacher taught you, you can sense on which side of the body, and I can go a little bit deeper and feel, oh, it's coming from the feminine side of the body or the left side of the body.
Yeah, I think it was Usai or sometimes I want to put an R in there. I don't know if there is one with an R. But I remember seeing when I got my certificates, because I went through to the master level, was at least seeing like USAI, I think, if I remember it right, the spelling.
Yeah, it could be a Zui Rahiho, and again, it's different lineages. My lineage that I studied from, majority of Reiki systems have the symbols, all of the symbols, the main ones, the 3 in the second level. And the power on symbol, I got mine in level 1, and mine's kind of rare for that. But again, it just goes back to what your teacher was teaching and what your teacher was adding into the curriculum of the system.
Okay, well, that makes sense. And
Yeah.
thank you for clarifying that. Yes, it's
Yeah,
feminine
there's
on the
so
left,
many different,
masculine.
there's hundreds and hundreds of systems, and there's lots popping up. I mean, I saw there's Dolphin Reiki, there's Akashic Records Reiki, there's Celtic Rainbow. It goes on and on.
And so, how did you get into like sound bath and vibrational practicing?
Well, that started several years ago. I've always loved music. As a young child, as a teenager, I wasn't really listening to the music of the day. I was a child that was stuck in the 60s, listening to Beatles or listening to the Doors, and music was so a part of my world. And taking music classes and wanting to play the guitar, and then when I went off to college, taking music classes, and it naturally unfolded. It feels like yoga is kind of that gateway modality that when you go down, it opens it up into sound bowls and Reiki. And right now, Reiki and sound bowls are the big thing. It just feels like, every second or third person you meet, like, oh, I play those too. And I've been doing those for the last few years, doing sound baths. I recently do sound baths with another person who offers Reiki as well. So you can mix modalities with that. But it's a really nice, a wonderful opportunity for people to have a healing modality where they're laying down and resting. Sound is powerful. It is that universal language. And so when we work with the vibrations, we work with these hertz, it can affect our body, our mood, and clear things as well. So it's another just wonderful opportunity to relax. And having the Reiki session and the sound bowls, you can imbue the sound bowls with the Reiki energy as well and have a really relaxing time.
When you do sound therapy, do you offer the in water or just through sound bowls?
I tend to, here in El Paso, I don't do that. And there is another practitioner here who does do it. You need to make sure you have the waivers and safety things and hire a lifeguard and so forth. But I typically do the sound baths, like in, like a wellness center, yoga studio, online, and so forth. But I've not here had the floating one. But there, again, I said someone here does offer it with the inflatables. But it's, a wonderful opportunity, outside, inside, in the pool.
It's kind of funny when you said don't have a lifeguard. I was like, who needs a lifeguard? You're in a a little tank and you're laying
Well,
in the
it
water,
depends on where you
and I
are.
realized, oh, you're talking about like a pool or
Like a
something.
swimming pool. Yeah, like if you're
Hmm.
renting out a space, that might be the criteria of the place that you rent out. I mean, people don't take that into consideration when you rent a venue. And what are the requirements there? You should have insurance, have that lifeguard, the pricing of it, investing in the rafts or the that you have for that. Yeah, a lot of
'Cause
considerations.
I did sound healing one time, and I remember they opened up this device and you like sat in there and it was like water, and the water level would be like halfway up your body. And so it was interesting because it's like almost like you're in immersion because you're in the darkness, but you're hearing sound and everything. So it's like you're not really in a void, but you're in a void. And
Yeah.
it was, I felt like, it kind of maybe was necessary to help maybe push people out of body, because I feel like you have no choice really in that environment, because the body is going to be like, hey, there's no light here, there's nothing here, we
Yeah.
got nowhere to go, so let's go explore. And it's like it'll take yourself out of body. But
Well, that would be your astral experience, right? That projection of having that out of body experience,
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah. And so whenever I hear sound, that's what I think of, is being in that tank. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, so this is what everybody's doing, and I'm finding out, no,
Oh,
it's
yeah. So I
different.
just have a variety of instruments, everything from Koshi chimes to the bowls, and have it set up in my little space. And I have yoga mats down, blankets, I have eye pillows, I have earplugs, and they come and they lay down, and it's an experience for 60 minutes while the other person's giving Reiki to them, and I'm playing the instruments, and I'm walking around with a rain stick. They have it here with the floating, where they'll run a pool out, or someone's pool in their backyard. They have the little rafts there with a blanket, and they're floating while the person's playing the sound bowls.
So what benefit would you say if somebody came in and was like, well, I'm new to all of this. What's the benefit to Reiki? What's the benefit to sound or vibration, or what's the or yoga? What reason would I do one over the other? What's the benefit difference, or is there really not any difference?
Well, I mean, it just depends on you. I had said earlier, find your just right. What makes
Right.
you comfortable? The idea here is to regulate your nervous system. So if I told you, you know what, go to a yoga class, and you just closed your eyes and poof, you found one, and you went into a hot yoga, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is awful. I hate this. It may give you a negative experience that you may never go back to yoga again. Right? So it's just a
Right.
matter of finding out what you feel comfortable with. So, and how does that look? So, what do you like to do? Do you like movement? Do you like exercise? Do you like laying down on a mat? You're like, I don't know if that's for me. You mentioned energy work, that you were familiar with that with your animals. So, okay, maybe try a Reiki session, but know that there's different types of Reiki practitioners out there. And so when you connect to someone, maybe do a discovery call. Ask them, what's a session with you look like? Do you use the drums? And that might not be relaxing to you. For me, even though I have psychic abilities, someone could say, your dad's over in the corner there, and that might spook me a little bit. Like, what does he want? Is something wrong? And that might completely undo my nervous system. So ask those questions. Maybe it's like, you know what? You'll lay down on a table, you'll be nice and cozy, and I'll do this session and I won't talk the whole time. That might be heaven for me, right? Or, you know what? I like music and sounds of bells calm me down. However, for my daughter, she doesn't like the sound bowls. She had a concussion several years ago, and the sounds just don't work for her. My husband gets migraines. He gets triggered by things and gets a migraine. So for him, I wouldn't recommend the sound bowls for him, but I would recommend, okay, well, let's do the yoga. That'll help you with your back, your neck. You want to work on your posture. You might benefit for the Reiki. He's done Reiki sessions and he didn't believe it at first, but now he's like, well, something shifted and changed. You're making me a believer on this. So I think it's just having a conversation of what your goal is. All of them are stress reducing modalities, but however, they also could be things that can trigger you as well. Like, I don't want someone lying there and I'm playing the sound bowls, and I'll tell them, if this frequency bothers you, and you may not know until we're in it, place your hand on your chest, put your finger up. I want to hold space for you. I'm a trauma-informed teacher, so I want to make sure you're safe. I'll change the sound for you so that you feel comfortable on your body. You may have reactions, feel it in your jaw. You may feel it in your throat. You may get itchy. And I want you to have the most comfortable experience possible. So when people come to me and say, well, I want to do yoga. Well, let's see what you like. Do you want to do it in a chair? No, I don't want to do it in a chair. I want to move a little bit more. I need more movement. Okay, well then maybe a hatha class is beneficial to you. I want to work on my posture, maybe an Iyengar. So having those conversations to really find it, give it a try, realize it's cumulative, and understand that it may not be a one and done. Coming to one yoga class is not going to give you the true flexibility. You're going to have to do a few classes. You have to put the work in. Same thing with Reiki, right? The more you use it, that's a muscle that's going to grow. And you could come into somebody for a Reiki treatment for a problem that you've been dealing with for decades, and you're expecting this practitioner to abracadabra make it go away. Now, do magical and amazing things happen? Absolutely. But however, sometimes things take a little bit of work. So benefits to it all, but it's kind of specialized to what you need and is beneficial to you.
That's so very true. And Rainbow Flame Wizard brought up something key. They brought up Violet Flame Reiki.
Yes.
And I'm kind of curious your thoughts on, because back in the 80s when I was getting introduced to energy, it was like the first energy you're introduced to really was Violet Flame. And then the Violet Flame kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
And now it's coming back up. And so do you think there's a reason behind the cycle of the Violet Flame, or why do you think all of a sudden the Violet Flame is starting to resurge in today's world?
Well, again, back to the evolving of Reiki. Right after the passing of Madame Takada in the 1980s, different styles of Reiki were beginning to pop up a little bit more. And I believe in the 2000s, the Violet Flame. I also studied the Violet Flame, but my particular lineage had over 40 symbols with it when I studied it. But it's a really beautiful energy. And you can bring in Kuan Yin, right? And maybe the idea here is that is the goddess of compassion. Maybe we just need more compassion. Maybe this divine feminine essence needs to arise in our world. Things are very charged. Things are very negative. We are a divided world right now. And maybe the Violet Flame is something that can help raise the vibration and release these emotional blockages that are going on in our world here. So maybe that is the time for it to kind of come back to surround our world in this violet light, to get this negative vibration, so much trauma, stress going on, karmic clearing that we need. So maybe that's the invitation to say it is time. And definitely, there was a lull in Reiki, especially around when Madame Takata, Pearl Harbor, it went underground. And then after her passing, a surgence again. Madame Takata's pricing system was $10,000 in the 70s for a master teacher. Not too many people found that affordable to get the Reiki training. And after her passing, it was made more affordable. And now, due to after COVID, many people going online and offering things and offering trainings online and videos and on demand, it's making it more accessible. So we have a wonderful and beautiful variety out there to be an offering to people to use as they need in this world.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. And we have about maybe 14 minutes left. And I would like to offer that time to you as being an author and business owner to share with us about what Feather Sister Yoga is. What, excuse me, about what Ready Set Reiki podcast is about. And if you want to share more about the Laughing Lightworker TV show, you can. But I want to offer you the space to share about your books and your business.
All right. Well, thank you. Well, Feather Sister was created in honor of my sister, Angel. And Feather Sister, in person in El Paso, Texas, and online. I do yoga. I do yoga nidra. Yoga nidra is a particular style of yoga where it's the yogic sleep. You lay down for that and it walks you through a guided meditation. So if it's something that you don't want to move and you want to help with your nervous system, help you relax, help your body get to a like a theta, delta brainwave, that's the one to go to. And so I have Feather Sister. I've had it open for about 6 years. I originally had it in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and moved it here to El Paso, Texas. Ready Set Reiki is a podcast that's been going on for about 3 years. It's for those who have worked with Reiki, studied Reiki, systems of energy, from the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher or PhD scholar. And I have been very blessed to have over 220 episodes to interview. And I learned from every person who has come on the podcast. It's such a blessing. And then Laughing Lightworkers is a TV show on New Reality TV. I'm one half of that. I do that with Dina Fortune, who also does energy work, and she is an artist. And we talk about how, as light workers, we want to bring the light and humor, the ha-ha into healing, that your third eye always sees the punchline. And, healing work can sometimes be very heavy, but it's not kind of looking and being naive at it, but the understanding that we can find the goodness, we can find the light, we can find the silver lining in these situations in life. And how can we lighten things up just a little bit? So we've had people who have come on in all different modalities, from working with children, working with energy, painters, comedians, and so forth, that have come on who have shared their story and how they bring the ha-ha into healing.
Oh, that's brilliant and beautiful, because I feel like that's needed in this world. And like we hit on earlier, where, a lot of spiritual beings are saying, we need to bring laughter and movement back into the world. And
Yeah.
we all think, well, I have nothing to laugh about right now. Looking
Right.
at the world, it's like, but yet there is. And so you just gotta find it, or like you said, fake it until you do find it. And so I'm not saying that works in everything. I'm just saying when it comes to laughter, yeah, there is some beauty to that. And
Right.
I want to again mention, you being an author. if you want to talk about your books.
Yeah, so I, being an elementary school teacher, one of the goals it tends to be of those working with little kids is to write a children's book. So I have a book called Detective Pancake, and it is about a breakfast that was being stolen, and Detective Pancake is on the scene to investigate, and he promises to have your problem solved by dinner time. My other book is The Sister Who Won't Stop Talking, and it's about Jessica, who is my daughter, who would not stop talking and would drive her sister, Jenny, crazy. So we wrote a story together about that and the adventures of Jenny going through her day, of the sister who won't stop talking. And finally, when we get Jessica there, guess what? She's not talking. And Jessica turns around and said, I have a sister that won't stop talking. My other books are manuals that I have. I do Money Reiki. That is the energy of abundance and prosperity. I have the level 1 and 2 book, and I have the master manual as well. I have an Amaria Reiki manual that I have there, and Amaria means more. That works up into the 24th chakras there, and that helps you bring in more of the energy. So it's taking the symbols that you already have, the energy that you're already currently working with, and combining it together to supercharge it. The other one is Angel Reiki, where it takes your current symbols and really connects it with an archangel that works with that symbol with that. So instead of individually calling those archangels to that particular symbol, when you say that particular symbol, the angel arrives. So those are my books here. I'm also a writer. I've written for many years in different magazines and publications and newspapers. Writing has always been a part of my life from when I was a teenager, and I'm sure it will continue to be a part of my life.
No, that's amazing. And I have to say, when first you said Detective Pancake, my mind was like a walking pancake that's a
Yeah,
detective.
yeah. Eggs
Sherlock
are,
Holmes would be like,
yeah.
what?
Your eggs are missing from your plate. Your syrup's on the wall. Your breakfast is in crisis. There is one name you can call. Detective Pancakes on the scene. It's a messy sort of crime, but he promises to have it solved before your dinner time.
Wow, that actually was quite catchy. I'm feeling like that is getting stuck in my head right now.
I know.
So, what projects or other events do you have coming up, or anything you want to promote out as well?
Sure. I have an upcoming Money Reiki training coming up. You can check out Feather Sister, www.readyfeathersister.com, and check out all of that is there. I have a kid Reiki training coming up as well. You can find me on Reiki.org. That is the International Center of Reiki. Reiki is a very unique modality that doesn't have any in the United States regulation with it, so it's nice to be connected to an organization that has a standard, that a standard of excellence, guidelines, integrity, and that is with the International Center of Reiki. Through there's a systems of Reiki called Azui Holy Fire 3 Reiki. I do trainings for that. You can do the ICRT, which is the International Center of Reiki Animal Reiki training, Karuna Reiki, which is the Holy Fire Karuna, and then Kid Reiki I do as well. And I do yoga as well, yoga classes. Right now, I'm on a little medical leave, so I have two wonderful teachers subbing for me on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They both do yoga, and then Wednesdays I do chair yoga. And then for right now, I'm only doing in-person yoga on Fridays, and then I will go back to doing the yoga classes at the El Paso Community College.
Very cool. So thank you for that. And everyone, do please follow along on everything that she's doing and follow her podcast shows. And you never know when she's going to be on my show again. So please follow along my shows as well. And Jason Finch says Tracy is a wealth of knowledge.
Well, someone put in there, I see that something shifted in their training of Violet Flame and mentions about Saint Germain. So that's quite interesting.
Yes, Rainbow Flame was saying that 3,000 years Kuan Yin was talking about it, and
yeah,
as recent as Saint Germain is the main holder for Kuan Yin, a lot of people are saying, and so there's talking about that, and there might be something to that. And
yeah, that's interesting. But again, going back to like who you studied with, yeah, the Ascended Master. So it makes sense because he would be transmuting negative energy, right, and helping elevate that vibration with that. So
and Saint Germain is always depicted with the violet flame.
It does, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
And
great way to visualize the purple all around you, that violet flame through your body.
yes, and the other thing too with the violet flame I'll mention is I remember my mom showing me this article that a doctor was doing surgery on someone, and when he moved the heart, that there was a violet flame behind the heart, and that he has seen this in some cases. And I always thought that was so interesting that, why would there be a violet flame behind someone's heart? And the fact that one, it's visible, and two, it's not being affected by the air, because most things, when you open up the body and expose it, runs and hides itself. And this was just staying put. So that's interesting to me that we all had the capability of actually having a violet flame in us.
Yeah. And the system I studied had like 40 symbols with it. And some of them didn't even have names. So I had found it at first very overwhelming with all of the different symbols. I mean, many of them made sense because you had for fertility, movement, fever, water flow, things like that. So I'm not sure if that particular person had that many symbols in their lineage and study.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing your story with us. And I do have a message for you that comes from me to you. And that is from my heart and the heart of my shows to you. Thank you for what you're doing for humanity. Thank you for doing what you're doing for the spiritual community, and just in general, just being authentically you and just sharing your knowledge. So thank you. It's seen, felt, and heard.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. And so hopefully we'll have you on again sometime, and we look forward to what you have coming up and everything. And again, do follow her on her programs and check out her podcast show as well. And with that, we are going to say good afternoon. I had to pause myself for a second because I'm used to doing night shows and was going to say good night, but it's only 3:00 in the afternoon.
It's night time somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
Remember, think international.
There we go. So blessings to everyone. Thank you. Thank you for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow for 2 episodes. I do have one in the afternoon, one in the evening, so we will see you then. Until then, have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye-bye.